Hi, welcome to the 17th episode of the New England Gal Knits podcast. I am Janet, and I live in Massachusetts with my husband, our two boys, our cat, and our dog. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram at the New England Gal. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back, and if you're a new viewer, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy it. And I just want to say a big thank you for everybody who has subscribed and liked and commented on my channel. I reached over 100 subscribers on YouTube over the past 2 weeks, and it just makes my day. I'm just so grateful and thankful for all of you. Thank you so much. So I have to warn you, I have a feeling this is going to be a hot mess. I'm filming on a Thursday afternoon, so my boys are home. The dog has been driving me nuts. I gave the dog an ice cube in hopes that it'll at least keep him entertained so I can get some of this filmed. He's been sitting and barking at me, and I'm not quite sure why. We've been on our walk and we've been out to the bathroom, so hopefully I can get through this. So typically I film on a Tuesday morning once the kids are at school. The dog's a little bit more mellow in the mornings. I think it's about 4 o'clock right now, and I think there's this witching hour. I always found this, and I don't know about any other mothers out there, but I always found between 4 and 6 was the witching hour for the kids when they were off the wall. My kids have gotten past that phase, but I swear the dog's still there, and between 4 and 6 he drives me nuts. So, but the reason this whole week has just been completely thrown off. So typically Tuesday mornings, no kids, mellow dog. Unfortunately, my face was twice the size of what it is right now. It was bizarre. So on Saturday, I got stung by a bee right below the eye. Saturday I was fine. Sunday I was fine. Monday morning I woke up and it was a little bit puffy and swollen, but not too bad. And Tuesday I woke up and couldn't even open my eye. So went to the doctors, got put on some steroids. Professional baseball aspirations out the door now. I guess I'll stick with motherhood, but doing so much better. Back to normal. It's a little bit tender, but so much better than what it is. So I'm hoping I'm gonna make it through this podcast. I honestly do not have a lot of knitting to talk about. I was very monogamous over the last 2.5 weeks. So 2 weekends ago, that Saturday, my husband and the boys were gone camping. So I decided to go down to a local yarn shop and check it out. And I ended up picking up 2 skeins of Madelinetosh Tosh sock in the Radness colorway. So I started and finished this sweater in about a week and 2 days. So this is the Radness colorway, and I basically followed the So Faded pattern as far as numbers went by Andrea Mowry for the neckline and for the raglan increases. But then I just finished the raglan with an I-cord the neckline with an I-cord bind off, as well as the sleeves and the hem of the sweater. And it took basically 2 full skeins. So this is all I have left. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see the color or if it's going to get blown out, but it's fluorescent highlighter yellow, fluorescent pink, fluorescent orange with black speckles. So, and it is on the shorter side of what I normally knit my sweaters at. I like a longer shirt, a longer sweater. So this is a little bit more cropped than what I'm used to, so I'm hoping you can see it, but it's still a good length. My only thing with this I-cord bind off is that it is starting to curl, but just in the front. The back doesn't seem to be curling, and I have a feeling it's from when I sit, the way it's hitting the top of my legs is causing it to curl. So I don't know. I'm hoping maybe if I just quickly steam block it before I wear it every time, that'll be fine, because I really would hate to have to block it or to rip it out and put ribbing in, especially because I don't have enough to put ribbing in the bottom. So we'll see. I am very happy with it. So this is my entry into my knit along that I'm running. I'm running it on my Ravelry group, and I should have probably mentioned this. I'm still getting the hang of this whole podcasting. So I am running a knit along on my Ravelry group with a summertimetopkal. So when it's knitting any short sleeve sweater or tank top, anything for the nice summertime season. And I don't have a whole lot. I think I have 2 other tops that I had knit for the summer. So I'm glad to have this done. And if you're interested in checking it out, please go over to my Ravelry group and take a look. And if you decide to post anything on Instagram, use the hashtag summertimetopkal. So I have another finished object. So I finished the vanilla socks I was working on. Look at my hair is all over the place. I'm shedding as badly as the dog is. So these are, the yarn is by the Yarn Jar in her Snowbird colorway, and this is on her 75-25 base. And I knit these my normal toe up 2x2 ribbing with Susan B. Anderson Smooth Operator Afterthought Heel. I love Afterthought heels. I want to say those are probably, has taken over the Fish Lips Kiss heel for me. And it's funny, a lot of people still like that heel flap and gusset. Whatever it is, I must have a very narrow instep. I find that it's always too big and the sock always slides down my foot. So these seem to fit perfectly. The Fish Lips Kiss heel, as much as I love them, they're just a tad bit too snug. These seem to be a little bit roomier than the Fish Lips Kiss heel in the instep. So these fit perfectly. So these are my 4th pair of socks for my box of socks. So I'm basically right on track because it's the beginning of May and I actually have another pair of socks I'm working on that I am almost done. So I'm doing a good pace. So I still have, though, quite a bit of yarn left over. Here it is in the ball. So I'm going to weigh this after I'm done podcasting, see if maybe with a contrasting toe, heel, and cuff, I have a brown, I think that would match perfectly. If I could get maybe a pair of shorties in here. Although I say, oh yeah, I'll knit a pair of shorties, but when I talk about things I'm planning on casting on, it's 2 other different pairs of socks. So we'll see. I'll find use out of this. Yeah, so that is it for my finished objects. So for works in progress, I have started, I haven't started too much, but I've gotten some done on my 2nd Irving sock, and this, here it is. Not a whole lot done. I have the 1x1 ribbing, which honestly, I feel like it is an accomplishment. I don't know what was wrong with me, but it took me like way too long to get by through this 1x1 ribbing. And it's funny, I'm wondering if it's the 1x1 ribbing on the 9-inch circular needles. That's the problem. I've knit 1x1 ribbing on sweaters with larger stitch numbers than the sock, and yet didn't take me half as long. So this is the 2nd sock. So here is what the finished one looks like. I'm hoping you can see it, and I love it. It has lace and cables, and then it has a little bit of texturing on the back of it. So I can't wait, and it fits perfectly. And I did end up doing, she has in the pattern a German short row heel, directions for a German short row heel, but I did the Fish Lips Kiss heel just because I have it memorized and I don't have to play around and look at the pattern. I just find it easier. And you know what? This has enough stretch in the instep that it fits perfectly and I don't have a problem with it at all. So So I am working on the second one, and this is being knit out of yarn I had dyed. This is just a 75-25 base. It's the Knit Picks Felici base, and it's just gold with blue and red specks in it. So just finished my last row of the ribbing. I'm watching my younger son and trying to figure out what he's making faces. I told them they weren't allowed to talk and they needed to be quiet. At least they listened this time. So anyways, I'm just finished the ribbing, so I'm going to start on the pattern now, which I loved. I did love the pattern, so can't wait to get these done. So then my other and last work in progress is another pair of socks. And I'm going to talk about casting on two more. One's a reasonable excuse to cast on another pair of socks as soon as I get off the podcast, and I'll explain that later. But so for the last pair of socks that I'm currently working on, and it's actually a half finished object, I'm just gonna throw the finished one. It's just another pair of vanilla socks. There we go. There we go. So here it is. So here is the first one. So this is the Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock in the Stormchaser colorway. So I have started the second sock, and here you go. So the toe is Knit Picks Stroll in the ash color, and I have, so on yesterday I was down here and I have already knit. I've already put in yarn for my heel and I'm already on the leg. So this is just, it is flying. So I'm hoping to get this done quickly. And I haven't had a whole lot of knitting time, but work had been a little bit slow, so I was able to get some knitting in between phone calls, which was kind of nice. So I normally don't knit at work, but I was able to get quite a bit done. So this is flying. So these are being knit on Addy 8-inch circular US ones, which are actually 2.5 millimeters. So there's only 56 stitches on it. So I think that's one of the reasons it's flying, because I normally do 64. So I think with the larger gauge, it's just, in less stitches, it's just flying. So, and I have this cute little progress keeper. This is by Tilted Planet, and it's adorable. It has all little iridescent stars in there. So anyways, I'm hoping that this won't be on the needles too much longer. So that is it for my works in progress. So I did, besides picking up the 2 skeins of yarn for this sweater, I did pick up a couple extra things over the last few weeks. So the first thing I picked up is this skein of Tuscan Knits, and this is her Dune colorway on her fuzz base, which is a 55 merino, 20% kid mohair and 25% nylon sock. I love this. This I'm planning on knitting the Flying North sock, I believe is the name of the pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll put it down below so you guys can see it. So I saw she hadn't been selling her fuzz base for a while. The supplier was out of stock, and she always talks about how wonderful this stock yarn is and how well it wears and it doesn't pill, and I've been dying to try it. So on her last update, she finally had the base back, so I jumped on it. So I cannot wait to start knitting on this, but this isn't what I'm planning on starting for socks. look at me. I just keep buying sock yarn and keep casting on the socks. And anyways, after the Irving sock is done and after the speckled space socks that I'm working on that I haven't touched over the last few weeks, I'll cast these on. So, and then the other purchase I did was Tilted Planet. So I already showed you the Progress Keeper, and then I saw this yarn here, and this is her Beach Shot colorway, and it's on her 75-25 base, and I love this. This just screams summer to me. So these will be, I'm trying to decide if I want to knit a pair of shorty socks with these or if I want to knit a full pair, but absolutely love it. And while I was on searching her update, I decided I was going to pick up the prize for the summertimetopkal. So I picked up another skein of her yarn, and I'm sorry for the crinkles, and I don't want to take it out of the bag only because it's shedding season for the dog. So there's fur everywhere, so I don't want to take it out of the bag and get fur on it. But I picked up another skein of yarn, and this is the Star Cake color, and again it's her 75-25 base. And then I also picked up, and you can't see it, it's all wrapped up. It's so cute. Her little Progress Keepers come in those little like gumball machine containers. So anyway, so I picked up another Progress Keeper, and I'm going to pair it with this little sock project bag that I had made. So this will be the prize for the knit along. So I did actually pick up one more thing. I did end up picking up Addie's Flexi Flips. So I had seen someone else using them. I want to say it was Tristan from the Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast. I think she was using them on one of her podcasts, and I wanted to give them a try. Unfortunately, the 2.25 millimeters were all sold out. I think I could have gotten them from somewhere in Germany, but unfortunately the shipping was as much as the cost of the needles. So I found a place on Etsy here in the United States, and they had the size 0, which is a 2 millimeter needle. So I decided to pick these up and give these a try and see how I like them. And if I really do like them, I think there's another place I can pre-order, and it's a 2-month waiting period. But if I like them, it's worth waiting the 2 months to get them in. But I picked these up and I figured I'd give these a try, so I'll have to let you guys know how I like these. So that is it for everything I purchased. So I do want to talk a little bit about some of the things I want to cast on. So the first thing I want to cast on, and these I've decided, this pair of socks I'm going to use with the Flexi Flips. So it's the Wonderland socks by Tabi of the Hey Sister podcast and Hey Sister Yarn Co. And the yarn I'm going to use it's my only skein. So it's a skein of Stranded on her Oasis base, which is her 75-25, and this is the Flamingo Legs. Love this. So I'm thinking with this being a smaller needle that it'll work. So I'm going to give it a try. So I want to cast these on and work on these. And I'm trying to decide, so tomorrow night we're going to finally see the Avengers. So I need some sock knitting. The manila socks that I'm working on now, I have a feeling I'll be done in 2 seconds, and the Avenger movie is over 2 hours. So I do want to start on a toe and then just start knitting the foot, because then I should be able, I don't have to worry about throwing in a heel or did I knit the leg long enough to match my finished sock. So I may bring this with me. The pattern doesn't seem too complicated, but I'm always worried about knitting pattern socks in the movies in the dark and not being able to see what I'll do. But I am going to cast these on. So I'm thinking of casting on another pair of vanilla socks as well. So I think I pulled this one out, and this one, it's Cascade Yarns, the Heritage Wave, and it's their 75/25. But this just, to me, is just the perfect summer color. The green and the blue, it just reminds me of the ocean and the dunes and the grass, the seagrass. So I think I'm going to cast these on as well and just get the heels done and throw them on my 9-inch circular needles and knit the foot while I'm there. And again, I apologize about the dog. Sometimes he's worse than the children. So, and then the other thing I plan on casting on, and everybody's either already knitted it or already have it on their needles, but I figure this will be my second top for my summertime top cow. But I'm going to knit the Tegna, I think is how you say it. It's Italian. I don't think you say the G. I watched Christy Glass's interview with Caitlin Hunter, and I think that's how she said it. So, but this is, I'm sure you all have seen it. It's by Caitlin Hunter, who is Boyland Knitworks. So I picked up some Bear yarn that is a 55 merino, 20% kid mohair, and 25% nylon yarn. So I picked it up Bear. I am going to dye it this weekend. I have no idea what color I'm going to dye it yet. I can't decide if I want to do a pink or like a rose, a dusty rose, or if I want to do a gray. And I keep kind of looking through all the finished projects on Ravelry and seeing what kind of piques my interest. So it'll either be one of those two colors. I will definitely share it at my next one. So, but that's my plan this weekend, is dyeing that yarn up. So that is definitely it for all of the knitting. So I do have a couple things I did want to show you. I had mentioned at my last podcast that my son and I went to a Harry Potter night at Claytime in Shrewsbury, which is a pottery painting shop. So we went and we did that, and I hand painted a mug, and here it is. It's not perfect. It's my first time ever painting pottery, but it's 9 3/4, and you've got the brick wall. So I did discover that you do need to, I guess, put up to 5 coats of black paint in order to get a nice solid black. So it's not perfect. You can see kind of through the black, but I'm happy. It was my first time, and I love the way it came out, and I've been using it every morning ever since. And then my son, I think I had mentioned, he had picked out this little ceramic owl box, and he just kind of did little black dots on it so it looked like Hedwig. So here is what he did, and here are all his little black dots. And when I picked it up, I didn't realize he also did the black through here as well. So we got those back, and absolutely thrilled with the way those came out, and he loves his little Hedwig. There's nothing in it just yet, but I'm sure it'll start collecting things. He can be a hoarder sometimes. We have to go through his room quite often, but I'm sure it'll be collecting things over the next few weeks. So that was all I wanted to show you. So over the last 2 weeks, it's been relatively busy. So 2 weekends ago, the boys were camping, it was nice and it was quiet. So I checked out the yarn store, I came home, I did some knitting. I ended up at a friend's house for a cookout. I was gonna say that night, but I went there around 5:30, and I have to admit I was in bed by 8:30 with the dog. And yeah, I think that was it. And then the boys, I felt bad. My husband had to go from camping straight to my oldest son's soccer game, and it was a 2-hour ride from one place to the other. So Sunday morning, after he got no sleep camping, had to make that 2-hour drive out to the soccer game and sit and watch the soccer game and come back. And it was nice to have them home, although after 2 hours I was kind of like, I could go for peace and quiet again. But that was that weekend. And then this past weekend, I messed up the Avengers movie. We should have seen it last weekend, but I volunteered at our church to teach second graders, and we had our first communions this past weekend, which was beautiful. Everything went wonderfully. The weather was perfect, so I can't complain. But unfortunately, because I was gone for days at hours on end and I had to be up early, we're not seeing the Avengers till tomorrow. So I've been told by all 3 of the boys that I've just completely messed that up, and I need to start scheduling things around the Marvel movies premieres. Priorities. So that's it. So this weekend we are going to see the Avengers tomorrow. On Saturday I'm planning on getting a pedicure done with a couple girlfriends, and we're gonna relax. And on a Sunday we are gonna go out to dinner for Mother's Day. The boys are taking me to one of my favorite restaurants, The Cottage, out in Wellesley, Massachusetts. So, and it has a very California fresh food vibe. It has that white wall cottage, the name of the cottage, very ocean type of atmosphere, and I love it there, and they have the best margaritas. So we are doing that, and I think that's all I have coming up. I think I'm just coming off of the being super busy this past weekend with First Communions, and then got a little bit sidetracked with this thing and having to go to the doctors, and it's just kind of been one thing after the other. My son had a doctor's appointment yesterday where he had to get a vaccination, and that didn't go over well. But it's over. And it's smooth sailing from here. So that is it. That is all I have to share. So I hope all of you mothers out there that are watching have a very happy Mother's Day this weekend, and I hope you are treated like a queen, and I hope you all have a great 2 weeks ahead. Bye.